Lynn's back there talking. Reverend Lynn. I can't call the minister out. Good morning. Good morning. Thank you. Good morning to those of you here in our sanctuary and to those of you viewing us online. My name is Chris Monk, and I welcome you to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Flint, a progressive LGBTQ+ affirming religious community. If you would like more information about our faith tradition or this congregation, please feel free to talk with one of our ministers today, right up here, or via their contact information found at uuflint.org. Visitors are especially invited to attend coffee hour downstairs today after the service, and any of us would be happy to tell you more about our congregation. You may also sign up for our weekly email newsletter by visiting our website, scanning the QR code on the back of the order of service down in the corner, or by filling out one of these colorful cards you will find in the seat backs. Put your name and your email address and just set it on the table in the back, and you will find out all the amazing, many wonderful things that are going on in this church. All right, you can see the back of your order of service for some of the announcements, but I'm going to highlight some of them too. Okay, does anyone have a black Ram truck with 2 dogs in it? See, Deb, I don't think they're from this congregation. Yeah, so that's you. They're concerned because you don't have any windows down for air. It's David. Okay. All right, announcements. Cute slide. Next Sunday is the second Sunday potluck, soup social potluck. Sign-up sheets are in the narthex, so you can let us know what you are bringing and how you can help in other ways. And of course, everyone's always welcome. You don't have to bring something in order to come. And if you want to help with setup, cleanup, whatever, you can do that too. Our White Elephant Bingo has been changed to this coming Friday, November 7th at 9 p.m., or 6 to 9 p.m., sorry, caught it, in Nelson Hall. Costumes are welcome. If Home Depot can have a Christmas decorations up already, we can still do Halloween. That's right. There are some really good prizes this year and some really funny prizes and no really bad prizes. That's right. So you won't want to miss the fun and pizza, and $7 is all it costs. So come on out, come to the church, go downstairs, and we'll have a good time.
Kid friendly.
Kid friendly. That's good. Okay.
There's lots of kids prizes.
Yes. Okay. Please be part of the UUCF new website. For the past few months, a new UUCF website has been under construction. And now here's your opportunity to participate. We want to videotape individuals, couples, friends for posting on the site throughout the year. Terry and I already have our date and time. We are going to do it. She caught me off guard last Sunday by saying we were going to do it because I didn't know anything about it, but we are going to do it. Participants will be given questions ahead of time and then share responses during the taping. Think about bringing a friend and the two of you can sit together and respond to each other. The idea is to have our community reach out through the website and hopefully draw folks to us. If you're interested in participating and have time on November 10th or 12th, between 10 and 4, please contact Sandra Murphy, and all the sign-up details are in the e-update, so you can look in there. All right, please join us in our tradition of open discussion in a church managed by the congregation's own members. This congregation's recent decision to hold membership in both the North American Unitarian Association and the Unitarian Universalist Association requires that we look at Articles number 1 and number 13 of our bylaws. There is a soup social that day, so get a tray of food and join us in Blackington Hall at noon. We hope you can all be there and express yourself. If you are planning on going to the Motherly Intercession fundraiser, please sign up by this Wednesday, the 5th. The event is actually on the 12th. If you want more information, just see Ruth or John after the service. Shirts. If you want one of the cool UUCF shirts, see Kathy Watchhorn after the service. There she is in the back. She'll be out in the narthex. Gloria, why don't you stand up just to model yours? Yes, there, that's what they look like. Oh, Laura's got hers on too. Oh, and Thorpe too. Pretty soon we'll, yeah. Pretty soon we'll all be looking cool. So see Kathy to order one of your cool. They come in many colors, long sleeve, short sleeve, like Laura has V-neck. Gloria has crew neck. So, I mean, it's great. And there's a tote bag. What more could you want? All right. That's it for the announcements. Our chalice lighting this morning. We light our chalice this day in remembrance of all who have given their lives for freedom, for larger life, for justice. Their songs lead us on, their dreams shape us, and their light will guide us home. Please join me in reciting our covenant. Recognizing the richness of diversity, the beauty and wonder of shared worship, and the transforming power of love and service, we gather as a sacred, intentional community to freely seek knowledge and truth, to celebrate the fullness of life, and by our actions to increase goodness and justice.
Stand to fly. I'm not that naive. I'm just trying to find the better part of me. I'm more than a bird, more than a plane, more than some pretty face beside a train. It's not easy to be me. I wish I could cry and fall upon my knees and find a way to lie about a home I'll never see. It may sound absurd, but don't be naive. Even heroes have a right to bleed, may be disturbed, but won't you concede? Even heroes have the right to dream. It's not easy to be me. Up and away from me. Well, it's alright. You can all sleep well tonight. I'm not crazy or anything. I can't stand to fly. I'm not that naive. Men were meant to ride with clouds between their knees. I'm only a man in a silly red sheet, taking for kryptonite on this one-way street. Only a man in a funny red sheet, looking for special things inside of me, yeah, inside of me, inside of me, inside of me.
It is right to remember the names of those who gave us strength in this choice of living. It is right to name the power of hard lives well lived. We share a history with those lives. We belong to the same motion. Those who lived before us, who struggled for justice and suffered injustice before us, have not melted into the dust, and they have not disappeared. We, the living, carry them with us. We are their voices, their hands, and their hearts. Let us join in hymn number 103, and stand if you like.
I will try.
For all the saints, from their labors rest, who thee by faith before the world confess, thy name most holy be forever blessed. Alleluia, alleluia. Thou wast their rock in victory and might, their strength and solace in the well-fought fight. Thou in the darkness deep them on true light. Alleluia, alleluia. Verse 4. And when the strife is fierce and conflict long, steals on the ear the distant triumph song, and hearts are brave again and arms are strong. Alleluia, alleluia.
After our words of meditation and our time of silence, you're welcome to come up and light a candle of joy or concern, or you can also do that at the back if you like. And you can also, if you choose, to write your joy or concern in one of the books at the back, and we'll make sure it gets into our weekly e-update newsletter. Our words for meditation are those of the Reverend Norbert Chopik, who died in a World War II death camp for defying the Nazis. He wrote, "It is worthwhile to live and fight courageously for sacred ideals. O blow, ye evil winds, into my body's fire. My soul you'll never unravel. Even though disappointed 1,000 times, or fallen in the fight, and everything worthless seems, I have lived amidst eternity. Be grateful, my soul. My life was worth living. Those who were pressed from all sides, but remained victorious in spirit, are welcomed into the choir of heroes. Those who overcame the fetters, giving wing to the mind, are entering into the golden age of the victorious." Let us enjoy our time of silence.
Hey, y'all. I'm Renee, and the chorus today is going to sing for you a song called Ancestors' Breaths. It's a powerful poem by a Senegalese poet named Barago Diop called Soufflés, which was set to music by, the first name I don't know how to pronounce, and I'm very sorry, Ysaye. Maria Barnwell of the group Sweet Honey in the Rock. It explores the idea that the ancestors are not truly gone, but live on in the natural world and within the living, and it encourages listeners to pay attention to the breath of nature to feel their presence. We just wanted to amplify that on behalf of the voices who sing this song and the people who wrote it.
I realized I was on the other side. Listen more often to things than to beings. Listen more often to things than to beings. 'Tis the ancestors' breath when the fire's voice is heard. 'Tis the ancestors' breath in the voice of the waters. Ah, whoosh, ah, whoosh. Those who have died have never, never left. The dead are not under the earth. They are in the rustling trees. They are in the groaning woods. They are in the crying grass. They are in the moaning rocks. The dead are not under the earth. So listen more often to things and to beings. Listen more often to things and to beings. 'Tis the ancestors' breath when the fire's voice is heard. 'Tis the ancestors' breath in the voice of the waters. Ah, whoosh, ah, whoosh. Those who have died have never, never left. The dead have a pact with the living. They are in the woman's breast. They are in the wailing child. They are with us in our homes. They are with us in this crowd. The dead have a pact with the living. So listen more often to things and to beings. Listen more often to things and to beings. 'Tis the ancestors' breath when the fire's voice is heard. 'Tis the ancestors' breath in the voice of the waters. Ah, whoosh, ah, whoosh, ah, whoosh.
It is worthwhile to live and fight courageously for sacred ideals. Be grateful. My life was worth living. Those were the words from Unitarian minister Norbert Chapek before he died. Now, we might expect a saint to utter such words, but he and other Universalists and Unitarians have never been made saints, at least not officially.
That title is reserved for Catholic and Orthodox Christian churches. Yet standing up for sacred ideals describes saintly actions accurately. Saints were established to serve as role models and inspiration for living holy lives. Any time that society is undergoing a crisis, people look for someone or something to help bolster their courage. Saints have done that for centuries. Yesterday was All Saints' Day. It is the recognition of the currently over 11,000 saints said to reside in heaven. So saints, rather than hanging out in purgatory with the rest of us poor souls, saints get the express elevator to heaven. So it's an honored position that makes many people not only want to emulate them, but it makes them want a piece of them. And by that I mean actual body parts. So relics are holy items from saints, usually parts of the body that are thought to hold special healing powers. Bones, hair, skulls, blood, even a tongue, and some other things that I was told not to mention are kept in cases and brought out on holidays and feast days. Medals and statues of saints are also popular, and that's if you can't travel to where your relic is. And people wear medals or use statues for healing and protection as well. And I'm sure some of the ones that you saw earlier you're familiar with, but I'll tell you about a few. So the St. Christopher statues are on dashboards to protect travelers. Wearing a St. Jude medal is for lost causes. Athletes pray to St. Sebastian before games. And every other garden you go to has a statue of who? Very good. Even the Unitarian Universalists know that one. But there is nothing like the real thing. So in a little church in France, there is a skull and a small piece of leg bone that are very popular for people to pray to, especially if you have a bothersome skin condition. Now, I don't know what the results have been for those people who go there for their skin conditions, but I would think that meditating on the owners suffering in the Egyptian desert for 60 years might work a little bit better. But St. Anthony, you see here, was founder of the Desert Fathers, one of the earliest monastic traditions. And he is also the patron saint of basket makers, grave diggers, butchers, swine herds, and farmers. He's got a few others too. He's very popular. We might think that it's a little strange or maybe even a little weak for people to rely on or revere saints like this, but I'm going to suggest today that we rethink that attitude. Now, I'm not saying that we necessarily should all run out and get little Emerson statues to put on our dashboards. I don't even know if they exist. Maybe they do, or maybe we can start, because what could it hurt? But let's imagine that some of our own heroes in UU history are saints. And let's see if we can find their miracles within ourselves. But first, I'd like to tell you a little bit more about how saints are created. So beginning in the late 10th century, popes were responsible for canonizing saints. Oftentimes they were martyrs, killed for their faith, or they were individuals that lived exceptionally exemplary, holy, or devoted lives to the church. Now, it was also necessary for the saint to have performed at least 2 miracles. And what did that designation get you then? Well, as I said, an immediate spot in heaven. It also gave you the ability to provide on earth a direct intercession with God when you were invoked as a saint. But most important of all, to be a saint, you're dead.
Find the cost of freedom, buried in the ground. Mother Earth will swallow you. Lay your body down.
Now, when Anthony died in 356 AD, he was immediately made a saint. That's because there weren't popes right at that point. And sainthood was a lot easier before the popes got involved. But miracles were still necessary, but that didn't seem to be a problem either. Miracles were happening left and right in Anthony's day. I don't know what happened. But while he was in the desert, he was said to have been responsible for tons of healings, numerous cleansings of demonic possessions, and personally witnessed several souls ascending into heaven. But unlike tales that you hear about most superheroes, St. Anthony did not start from humble beginnings, and perhaps that makes him all the more remarkable. His story is reminiscent of the Buddha, who left a palace behind to become a monk. Anthony and his sister were very wealthy young orphans in Egypt. They were living quite comfortably. They were Christians, and one day they were at church, and the priest used a quote from the Bible. "If you want to be perfect," he said, "go, sell what you have and give to the poor." Anthony felt God was speaking directly to him. So he went home. He gave his land to his neighbors and gave most of their money to the poor. He kept just enough for himself and for his sister to live. Well, then he went to church again, only to hear the priest quote again from the Bible. And Anthony thought, yep, this is meant directly for me again. God is speaking to me. And that quote was, "Don't worry about tomorrow." He could not get home fast enough. Now, that's pretty good advice for most people. Don't worry about tomorrow. But he took it to mean that he needed to get rid of everything else. So he gave away the last of his possessions, his home. He put his sister in a nunnery, and he went to the desert. Yeah, he put his sister in a nunnery. Okay, at least he put her somewhere. And he didn't just leave her. And he went to the desert with a bunch of disciples to fast and to pray and to give out advice to all comers. He gave away everything. I'm wondering, does downsizing to fit into a 28-foot RV, does that count for sainthood? I didn't hear a command from God, but I do hear him often remind me that, 2 cats, 30 pairs of shoes, they're not going to fit in the RV. Of course, living in an air-conditioned rolling home with a big bed and a bathroom doesn't really compare to living in caves in the desert. And poor Anthony not only did that, but he was constantly plagued by temptations from demons. Demons were big back then. They brought visions of his former wealth, beautiful women at night, and threats of savage beasts. Now that does sound like a superhero plot, but when you think about it, who among us has not second-guessed a big decision and maybe even had dreams about it? So he's out in the desert and goes, maybe this wasn't such a good idea. So Anthony might be your patron saint. But I want to tell you about some other saintly candidates. Now, without the prerequisites of miracles, there are some obvious choices, I think. Gandhi, MLK, Mandela, Tutu, and maybe Thich Nhat Hanh. But our faith, UUism, has some winners as well. We have our own martyrs, Michael Servetus and Francis David, who were both killed for being heretics. And UU minister James Reeb and a UU from Detroit, Viola Liuzza, they were both killed during the civil rights movement for their work. Now, there are plenty of UUs I'd pitch for sainthood, actually. And they weren't martyrs necessarily, but they did put their lives and their livelihoods at great risk by what they believed and what they did. So first, Unitarian minister Theodore Parker comes to mind. As an ardent abolitionist, Parker frequently hid runaway slaves in his home, which was outside of Boston. He always had a loaded gun on his writing desk, lest slave hunters were coming to the door. And he was also a radical transcendentalist. His religious views challenged a majority of the Unitarians of his time. It became so bad that colleagues would not associate with him, and most pulpits in New England would not receive him. Enemies quickly piled up as he publicly espoused the inherent morality of human beings. And, get this, I don't like this one particularly, the superfluous nature of formal worship. He indicated that you could pray just as well in the woods. You could also do good works and search for truth on one's own, just as effectively as attending weekly church attendance. I probably shouldn't have put that in there. But Parker, so you could see why he might be unpopular with his fellow ministers. But Parker also specifically rejected supernatural miracles attributed to Jesus. The miracle is that no one tried to kill him. But it is kind of ironic, then, that I would nominate him Saint Theodore due to his unwavering commitment to his beliefs despite the personal consequences. And I think we can identify with him because I'm sure that some of you have lost friendships over differently held opinions, especially around politics lately. Saint Theodore might be your patron saint for standing up for what's right or what you feel is right, even if you are the last one standing.
Find the cost of freedom buried in the ground. Mother Earth will swallow you. Lay your body down.
Now, our UU history is full of individuals who stood firmly on sacred ideals. Although today we admire their legacies, some of them were pretty unpopular during their own lifetime. Unitarian minister and scientist Joseph Priestley was one of those. Now, he's best known for his discovery of oxygen when he was living next to a brewery. And maybe that's a miracle in itself. But theology was his first love. And Priestley believed that Jesus was human. Now, there's nothing wrong with that, except that Priestley preached it continuously from his pulpits in Anglican churches, and he kept getting fired. He was a little slow on the uptake there. So finally, he just gave up on ministry, and he met Benjamin Franklin and wrote a book about Benjamin and electricity. Well, that was successful, and it made him enough money so that he could build a laboratory and build his own damn church. And that's what he did. So he had his own Unitarian church where he could say whatever he pleased. Like many of us, Priestley knew that there had to be more Unitarians out there that just didn't know it yet. So he started to write and distribute theological essays that were based on reason and called for the separation of church and state. Now, it seems to me that St. Joseph Priestley would be the patron saint of perseverance and maybe evangelism. But you might imagine the Church of England was not amused. So one night, during a dinner party at Priestley's home, a violent mob destroyed his laboratory and set fire to his home. And Priestley and his family and his dinner guests barely made it out alive. Now that feels like another miracle to me. The mob raged on for 3 days, destroying anything and everything that belonged to people who were opposed to the Church of England. So Priestley sought refuge with friends for a few days, but then their lives were endangered as well, so the Priestley family decided to sail to America. Now in America, Priestley had a much more receptive audience, and he built several Unitarian churches. Priestley's sainthood seems secure to me for proving that believing in science and a rational religion is not only possible, but the only responsible way to search for truth. But as you heard, religious freedom came at a great cost, both for Parker and for Priestley.
Find the cost of freedom buried in the ground. Mother Earth will swallow you. Lay your body down.
Now our next person is Margaret Fuller, and although she did have a life of privilege, it was not without hardships. Born in 1810, her father, a prominent Unitarian lawyer and U.S. representative, expected a boy, and he wanted to educate that boy and model him after himself. So when she was born, he decided to educate her as if she were a male child. She was forced to study 17 hours a day, breaking only for walks, singing, and playing piano. No matter what time of night Fuller's father arrived home, he woke his daughter, carried her down to his study, and quizzed her on her day's lessons. In a letter to a friend, Fuller said that this might make some children go mad, but she was too strong to be crushed. She coped by dividing herself into two souls, a feminine emotional side for herself and a masculine intellectual soul for her father. To me, her intellect and survival seem miraculous. Fuller resolved to earn the love of her father through academic achievement and rise above the rather low expectations people had for women then. Despite her father's permanent sneer and scoff and exceptional harshness, she worked hard. In later years, some acquaintances would charge that Margaret's disposition was rather like her father's. But her best friend, Ralph Waldo Emerson, said such comments were simply superficial judgment. Biographers today often suggest anyone might appear a bit sour after such an impossible upbringing. Perhaps a parent's push for perfectionism and a personality shaped by emotional abuse are common themes today, but it was all the more common back then. Saint Margaret could easily be the patron saint of independent young women who thrive because of their assertiveness and strength, especially when you hear about all of her accomplishments. By the age of 15, she was well versed in philosophy and literature in 4 languages. Because everything in her life was about studying, she did struggle socially. But when her father died, when she was 25 years old, she said she could finally fit her 2 souls together. Around this same time, she also discovered her spirituality. She reported that while she was tending to a young woman who was dying after a botched abortion, she had a mystical experience. First, a vision overcame her, and then she suddenly felt filled with what she called a divine presence. It changed her life. It prompted her to seek out the transcendentalists and befriend Emerson. It was also the very beginning of her long line of firsts. She was the first woman at the Transcendentalist meetings, the first editor of their quarterly journal, first literary editor of a major newspaper in New York, the first woman to use Harvard's library, first feminist author, and the first foreign correspondent from the U.S. After writing 5 books and 350 articles, essays, and poems, Fuller became the 19th century America's most highly paid public lecturer among men and women. She was known internationally for her human rights advocacy that not only included abolition, but demanded equal rights for the poor, Native Americans, and women. Furthermore, she carried the torch for liberal religious freedom. While Fuller was reporting in Italy, she met a fighter in the Italian Revolution, fell in love, and they had a son. It wasn't long before their money ran out. So Fuller offered that the whole family could go back to America and she could resume her promising career. A few months before leaving in early 1850, Fuller wrote to a friend, "I am fearful, and various omens have combined to give me a dark feeling. It seems to me that my future upon earth will soon close." Well, when the family got aboard the ship to America, it was the cargo ship Elizabeth. It was carrying so much marble that it was sitting dangerously low in the harbor, and one of her friends urged her not to get aboard. But she did. The first omen? Then, on the voyage, the captain died of smallpox, and the inexperienced first mate took over. You have to wonder what Fuller thought then. Well, the first mate's poor judgment, misreading a map, and then a horrible storm spelled disaster. The ship hit a sandbar,
within sight of Fire Island, New York. But the weight of that marble on that cargo ship splintered portions of the ship when it hit the sand. Some of the passengers and crew swam to shore, but Fuller, her baby, and her partner waited for rescue. While one rescue was attempted, they deemed it too dangerous and they turned around. As many people watched from the shore, large waves were smashing into what was left of the ship. First, one large wave swept the baby's father under the water. Then, a crew member convinced a reluctant Fuller to let him take her baby and try to swim to shore. They both drowned. Fuller, drenched in a white nightgown, was then heard saying, "I see nothing but death before me, and I shall never reach the shore." Within minutes, the rest of the ship sunk, taking the remaining crew and the passengers, including Fuller, with her. In a final first, though, relating to Fuller, the tragedy resulted in new life-saving protocols for ships. Fuller's sainthood honors her ability to survive a difficult childhood, excel in her career, become the first feminist, and to do everything that people thought women could not. Had she not perished at 40 years old, her list of firsts most likely would have been even longer.
Find the cost of freedom, buried in the ground. Mother Earth will swallow you. Lay your body down.
Nathaniel Stacy was a Universalist preacher. He had churches in New York, Pennsylvania, and he was even the first minister in Ann Arbor in the 1830s. But he often preferred to set out on his horse in these states to spread the good news of universal salvation. Itinerant preachers of many denominations were commonplace in his day. But unlike most of his contemporaries, Stacy preached a particularly unpopular and unknown doctrine of a loving, not punishing God. Now, conditions were awful, as you might imagine. As bad as they were, one traveling Methodist said the worst evil of it all was the Universalists. For just that, I think St. Nathaniel should be dubbed the patron saint of love. He took hell completely out of the equation. Of course, like all the other saints I've mentioned, he too was steadfast in his belief that what he had to say was important enough to suffer for. He primarily cared for his transportation, which, of course, was his horse. He always would find a stall and food for the horse before he would find food or a dry place to sleep. A meal was often the form of payment for such preachers, so Stacy often tried to supplement his income. He unsuccessfully tried reprinting a 17th century book and even speculated in cheese. Although he suffered endless misery, he practiced what he preached, and he tried not to complain, knowing that guaranteed salvation awaited him. Stacy was known to be somewhat of a sickly man throughout his life, so it was a miracle that he survived outdoors on a horse. Imagine feeling so good about your faith and helping others understand that there's no need to fear hell, that nothing else mattered. That's a saint. Once Stacy discovered Universalism, it meant that much to him. When he was growing up, there were no Universalist churches in the area, so they attended a congregational church, and the doctrine terrified little Stacy. He had bouts of depression thinking about an angry God and an eternal punishment. But fortunately, an itinerant Universalist preacher saved him. Hosea Ballou befriended Stacy. Ballou believed that Stacy was meant to be a minister, even though Stacy had tried many different careers, including blacksmithing, clockmaking, and teaching. One Sunday when Ballou was visiting, he claimed to have a terrible, terrible headache. And a crowd had gathered to hear Ballou preach, so he begged Stacy to preach for him. It was the start of Stacy's preaching career. He admitted that he was never so happy as when proclaiming and defending the great salvation. It must have shown, because it was said that he was one of the most passionate promoters of the religion at the time. He did note, though, that day when he first preached, that curiously, he heard no more about Ballou's headache. Although he used to say that it was excessively fatiguing, Stacy said someone had to go into the country to tell frightened people that there was an alternative to a wrathful God, or else there would be no Universalist societies or congregations. St. Nathaniel had an unwavering devotion to spreading his liberal faith. He's my patron saint because he cared about future generations of UUs, and that's why I became a minister. Our stories today prove that ordinary people can do extraordinary things. While finding superheroes or saints to look up to inspire us all to do better, any of us can aspire to their true deeds and gain the respect of others. We don't have to look far for a Parker, a Priestley, a Fuller, or a Stacy. They're in each of us.
So this piece, We Rise, was written by Batya Levine, and she's a Jewish woman who wrote this to uplift and share their spirit of rising together through adversity.
We rise, humbly hearted rise, won't be divided, rise, with spirit to guide us, rise, in hope, in prayer, we find ourselves here. In hope, in prayer, we're right here. In hope, in prayer, we find ourselves here. In hope, in prayer, we're right here, and we rise. All of the children rise. Elders with wisdom rise. Ancestors rise. In hope, in prayer, we find ourselves here. In hope, in prayer, we're right here. In hope, in prayer, we find ourselves here. In hope, in prayer, we're right here, and we rise up on the wreckage, rise with tears and with courage, rise fighting for life, we rise. In hope, in prayer, we find ourselves here. In hope, in prayer, we're right here. In hope, in prayer, we find ourselves here. In hope, in prayer, we're right here, and we rise. Humbly hearted, rise. Won't be divided, rise. With Spirit to guide us, rise.
Good job, thank you.
Add that to the list of things to do again.
Now is the time for generosity. The offering we take each Sunday is an opportunity to recommit to this place and to these people. It is as much a ritual as singing together, lighting our chalice, or reciting our covenant. It is how we show that we believe it is important to worship together, to help our community, and to say yes to the values of our faith. It is a reminder that form of love we call generosity. Join us in showing that love by participating in today's offering by placing your gift in the basket at the back of the church as you leave. Or you can make an online donation at uuflint.org. All gifts are gratefully received.
What a debt we owe to the elders of the human race, its inventors, its wise, its lovers, thinkers, creators. In the course of their lives, they left gifts for us, gifts beyond measure. This is the challenge of our remembering, to be reminded of the dependence on others, which brings meaning to our lives. Let us extinguish our chalice. We extinguish this flame,
but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
To everything turn, turn, turn. There is a season, turn, turn, turn. And a time to every purpose under heaven. A time to be born, a time to die, a time to plant, a time to reap, a time to kill, a time to heal, a time to laugh, a time to weep. To everything turn, turn, turn. There is a season, turn, turn, turn. And a time to every purpose under heaven. A time to build up, a time to break down, a time to dance, a time to mourn. A time to cast away stones, a time to gather stones together. To everything turn, turn, turn. There is a season, turn, turn, turn. And a time to every purpose under heaven. A time of love, a time of hate, a time of war, a time of peace. A time that you may embrace, a time to refrain from embracing. To everything turn, turn, turn. There is a season, turn, turn, turn. And a time to every purpose under heaven. A time to gain, a time to lose, a time to rend, a time to sow, a time for love, a time for hate, a time for peace. I swear it's not too late.